Okay, so we have completed the regression testing. So let's move to the next topics. Okay. Okay, so let's go to acceptance testing. Okay, so this is the acceptance testing is a little high level. Okay, there is something also called as UAT, user acceptance testing, that is more inclined to the user testing. So it's also it's also a testing. There's a separate team actually. There's a UAT team, like they're called like user acceptance testing team, and then it's different from functional testers, normal QA guys. Okay, this a little bit different, but they have the similar requirements, similar documents, and all those things are similar. The way they approach the testing is a little different. Okay, they have their own test cases, they have their own way of writing. Look, everything is different than QA point of view. Okay, so this testing, is done, to make sure that they meet the user, customer specified requirement. See, sometimes what happens, right? Customer sends a requirement saying that, hey, you know what? This is a new feature. Okay, this is a new feature I want to add, and let's say the business approves that. Let's say the business approves. Okay, so this is good feature. We are going to add this, and once they add it, they have to go through this acceptance testing. Okay, so that's called an acceptance testing. So what's the acceptance testing? To verify the system meets the customer specified requirements. Okay, so they have to test based on the customer requirements. So that's called acceptance system. So let's move to the any questions. So acceptance testing is a little bit high level. I would say acceptance testing is a high level. To be more specific, it's called UAT, user acceptance testing. Okay, but since here it's not specified as user, so but again it's a UAT is a little bit more specific to the user acceptance testing. Okay, more specific to the user requirements. Okay, so let's move to the next topic. Let's go to performance testing. Okay, this is something called performance testing, and this performance testing is divided into two types. One is the load testing, the other is test testing. Okay. Performance testing is divided into two types. One is the load testing and stress testing. So once you complete those things, those two testings, then you say this performance testing is done. Okay. So let's take an example here. Okay. So let's before going this, right? We want to, like, I'll give you more information on this. Why do we really require this? Use like performance. So this is called non-functional testing. Okay. So this is completely different than functional testing. This is non-functional testing that is not related to any functionality, any application features or something like that. It's completely based on performance of the system. Okay, so let's take an example here. Okay, so why do we need this? We'll just go a little bit more into. Let's say if you have this, let's take this Amazon.com. Okay, once you go into this, right, you are trying to access this URL, right? Let's say Amazon has bought a server. Okay, they bought a server, and they are like they're hosting this. Okay, they're hosting this Amazon.com, and once they have done, okay, so it's a URL, right, a website, and it is all over the world. You can access it. Okay, even if you don't have some countries they block it, but still you can access through VPN. Okay, and okay, so here you can access all over the world. Okay, it's not like just in one place or something. Now let's say that Amazon has bought a server, okay, for them, and now they have created Amazon.com, and let's say people try to access this URL. Okay, but that server, the problem is the the capability of the server is like it can handle only 50 users. Let's take an example here, okay? 50 users. It cannot go beyond that. Okay, and now I'm just talking about only just just Amazon.com and just use this URL here and just that's it. I'm not even trying to log in or something. I'm not just doing anything. I'm just trying to access. So there are millions of people who are going to access that URL, right? So let's say, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question. Let's say the capability of the server is 50 users, right? 50 users can access that URL at once. That means, the processor can handle 50 users at once because it takes a lot of resources, right? It takes memory, it takes the back end, a lot of things happens. It takes memory, the processing speed, so the processing speed runs very fast. And, the processor cannot handle more than, this specified amount of load. Let's say there's 100 users login at the same time. I'm not even logging in, I'm just trying to say this, trying to access this URL. 50 users can access this URL at one point of time. Now, what happens if 100 people log in into that URL at once? Can anyone do, what exactly can happen when 100 people are trying to access that URL at once? But the server capability is 50, cannot go beyond 50. But there are 100 people who are trying to log in, trying to access the URL. Can anyone say what happens to it? Okay, so you know what? The application becomes slow. Okay, the application it doesn't run as fast as it because the capability of that server is only 50 users. Okay, that means only 50 people can log in to that at once. Okay, so it doesn't work. The application becomes slow. Okay, the application becomes slow, and the more people keep on logging it and keep on using it, that application gets crashed. Okay, and the back end the server get blown up. Okay, because it doesn't support that many users. Okay, so that's the reason you cannot. Now what happens, right? Let's say there is one more server. Okay, on Amazon, but one more server, and there's something called load balancer. They have this load balancer. Now let's say there are, again, now 100 people are logging, using that URL at once. So what this load balancer does is it takes the 50 users from this and transfer that into the another server. Okay, so that's how you can balance the load. Okay, so that's how you have a lot of servers, and so what, Google had like around 1 million server all over the world. So that's the reason that thing, Google.com comes up so fast than any other website, right? Because they have a lot of servers, and each and every places you can log in, so they don't have the standing time, right, to whenever you want to access that URL. Okay, so now here's the thing here. What you want to do. So this is what this is where the performance comes into the picture, because a lot of people are logging in and that's that time. What we are trying to do with it, how the application responds, what is the performance of the application, how the user is able to get access. It takes a lot of time. So you don't want to have these performance issues, right? Because when you go to the as a user, if a user trying to access it, you want to make user friendly, right? You don't want to make the user like it has performance issue, it's not logging in or something. Okay, so that's the reason you need this performance testing. Okay, does it make sense? So so this performance testing is classified into two types. One is load testing, okay, and stress testing. So let's go to the load testing. So here what you do is, you want to put heavy load. So here, this is not done manually. This is used tool. There's a tool called load runner. Okay, it's not just one tool. There are many tools. Load UI, load runner from HP, and it was from Mercury, and HP actually bought that. And there's load UI from Smart Bear. A lot of tools. Okay, to use a tool, you don't use manually here. There's nothing done manually. Okay, so load testing is done using a tool called load runner. Okay, now what we actually do in that? So it's something called it creates a virtual users. Let's say 1,000 people are logging in, so it creates this 1,000 virtual users because we don't have 1,000 people to log in, right? The application. No, we cannot hire 1,000 people just to log in, right? So that's the tool. That's the specialty of the tool that creates 1,000 virtual users. So how much load does it create by 1,000 people? It mimics that amount of load and creates on the server, and that's how the application shows up, right? That's how the application is performing on that. It really shows on that. Okay, so that's the load testing. So what is the load testing? To identify the bottleneck of an application. Okay, load testing is, what is load testing? Load testing is to identify a bottleneck of an application. Okay, so we want to see testing an application under heavy loads. Okay, such as testing a website, just accessing that URL. Okay, and using that URL. So that's called load testing. Okay. Let's go to the next topic, stress testing. So here you're going beyond load, okay, not even just load. So load is just for, here what you're trying to do here, load is you're trying to put lot users there, okay, just users and just trying to access the URL, that's it. But what happens in the stress testing is not just users, you're trying to do a lot of things here, okay, not just users, you're putting, logging into that application, you're playing around, running around various applications. So what happens in the back end, right? So whenever you try to log in into the application, that means it queries a database at the back end. So nobody is doing any SQL, nobody is writing any SQL queries or something. That application itself, whenever you click something, that a production database, there's a production database. It generates a query, it generates a query the back end, the server, and gets the data, whatever. See, whatever is showing here, right? Let's say this Amazon.com. Whenever you're trying to click something, okay, now you want to click on something, let's say this. So it generates, a SQL query. Okay, so don't have to be SQL, it can be anything, but it generates that query to the server, and it has all these images, pictures, all the information is stored somewhere, right? Where it has to store in a database, right? Whenever you click on that, it pulls up this page. Okay, so all this is being showed because database, it has all this information in database. So this all navigation, page navigation, and all this is called stress testing. So not one user is doing this, now all the 1,000 users are doing this. Okay, now that's called stress testing. Okay, so let's see what the definition here is. What is stress testing? System is stressed beyond its specification to check how and when it fails. Okay, under heavy loads, like putting large number of storage capacity, complex database queries, continuous input system your database load. Okay, so what does it mean? Continuous input to system or database load means you're trying to always navigate this URL. You're clicking this. You're clicking all these buttons. You're clicking these images. So that generates a load, and not just one people. I'm talking about 1,000 people at once. One server, two server. Now that's called stress testing. You're trying to stress the system by applying a lot of users, like that's called virtual users through load runner, and you want to see that performance. So here, what happens? What exactly you're trying to do here is you're getting graphs. Okay, you get a lot of graphs here. When you try to do this stress testing, you get throughput. You get how much memory it is utilized, how much RAM it is utilized, okay, and how much the operating system performance is going on. Lot of graphs, you get a lot of graphs in this two things, load testing and stress testing. You have this two, okay. You see the performance of the system, okay. I mean, most of the time it is application point of view. You want to see how the application is performing, but here you're also, cross-checking with server, saying that, okay, how the server is performing. Do you need a new server, or do you need to replace the server or something? Okay, but at the end of the day, it's how the application is performing. Okay, so that's called performance testing. Any questions in this? Okay, so let's go to the next topic. Um, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the usability testing. Okay. Um, so what's a usability? So it's called user friendliness check. Okay. What I'm trying to do is user friendliness, how the application is user friendly, right? The application should be user friendly. Why? Okay, because you want to attract more people, right? You want to make business, you want to do good business. So if there's no user friendly, someone else will, they'll go to someone else. Okay, now this is not good, man. This application is not working. Okay, so you don't want to have such kind of issues, right? So that's called user friendly. So that's the reason you do this usability testing. That's called user friendliness check. Now let me give an example here. Okay, let me give an example. Okay, let's go here. Now, you know what? Now I go to this Amazon.com, and let's say I want to sign in. I'm a customer, regular customer, and I want to sign in. Okay, or I want to log in into this application. I want to buy something here. Okay, I want to sign in. Now, whenever I see this, I want the sign in button right in front of my face. Okay, that means, okay, that's good. Here, sign in. Okay, good. I want to click here and sign in. Okay, now I don't want the signing button in here. There's a footer in the page here somewhere. If you put signing button here, how would I know? How the customer know? Forget about me. How the customer know that signing button is here? That's called user friendly. Okay, so that means whenever, so you know what the user wants, right? When the application is here, right in front of your face, you need to know um, what the user wants. Okay, that's a user friendliness. Okay, so sign in button should be always, for any application, should be right in front of this page so that anyone can log in, and this cart button should be here so that, okay, I have this, I can buy here. So if you put some user button somewhere here, how would user know? User don't know that, it's in the here, right? So that's not user friendly. Okay, so that's the usability testing. Okay, to check the user friendliness. Let's go here to the definition. Here, called application flow is tested. The new user, suppose, let's say in a new user, right? The new users want to buy something, you want to sign in, then you want to use the proper, he or she wants to log in it. So you want to, should be right in front of the page. Okay, you cannot put somewhere else where user not able to find it. Okay. So that kind of testing is called usability testing. Okay, let's go to the next topic. Install and uninstall testing. See here, install and install, right? So this again, as the name itself says, that means it's related to client applications. Okay, this is more related to client application because you're installing some product, right? You're installing some software in your system. So now when you're installing and uninstalling, that means that is more related to client application. Okay, so you want to see, so you want to test that install and install testing. Okay, so you want to, so we want to see, like, so whenever you install, right, as I told you, like before, there was one topic, right? Whenever you install and install, a lot of things happen. Okay, now DLL files get updated, registry keys get updated, new files get updated when you install, uninstall, those things revert back. Okay, and you see you no more see that application anymore. Okay, so that's testing. That kind of testing is called install and uninstall testing. Does it make sense? So install testing is a client application. It's based on the client applications. Okay, not not more on web applications. Okay, again, like I hope everyone knows, right? What is client application and web application? Okay, people who don't know, see, I'm repeating 2 3 times. There was some question like I'm repeating too much, but people are from different background, right? Some people are computer background, some people are different background. So for them to understand properly, I repeat. Okay, so not just okay. If you know, that's good, but some other people may not know. Okay, so they also want to learn. Okay, so web application and client application. Web application is something which you access to browser, any browser. That's called web application. Client application is something which you access through your system. Okay, you install and for example, here Outlook. Let's take an example here Outlook. You have to install this Outlook application in your system, to work properly. Okay, so that's client application. So that's how install and install testing shows up. Okay, so no questions. Let's move to the next topic. Okay, so recovery testing. Okay, let's say you are using an application and suddenly that application gets crashed. So you want to see how soon that application recovers from it. Okay, from the crash. It's called recovery testing, and to test that, it's called recovery testing. Okay, recovery is something which you recover, right? It's the name itself. You recover from what? From crash or hardware failures or something, some other catastrophic problems. Okay, so to test that is called recovery testing. Okay, so let's move to the next one, security testing. Okay, so in security testing, you want to see like how the system is, um, you know, um, how can you test in a hacking way? Okay, let's take an example here. Okay, before understanding what is security testing, we'll just take an example here. Um, let's say if you want to go to here google.com, right? So if you see here, if you notice this, it uses a protocol service. Okay, what protocol it is? It's HTTPS protocol. Okay, so here it says HTTPS. That means Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. If there is S, that means it's secure. Okay, that means Hypertext Transfer Protocol is secure. If there is only HTTP, then it's not secure. Okay. Now, what does it's not just because just you're putting S that becomes HTTPS, and you're not putting S that is HTTP. No, it doesn't work that way. This HTTPS means there's an algorithm which uses why do we use this? We use because whenever you're trying to search something, let's say you're making online transaction. When you're making an online transaction, if you're using HTTPS, okay, that encrypts your information, like credit card information, your address, your SSN, all those it encrypts and communicates to that server securely. Now, if there is no HTTPS, HTTP, okay, so it's just only HTTP, then what happens is there is a lot of possibility like this. I mean, it's not like possibility, it will, these days it's pretty much sure that if you're using any HTTP and trying to do something, somebody will get the information, like your credit card information or your address or SSN. Okay, now that's called security testing. To test, okay, this HTTPS, okay, and it's a little bit a different kind of testing. I mean, use this algorithm. Okay, there's a lot of algorithms there. Okay, and it gets encrypted. Okay, your credit card number, your SSN, it gets encrypted in such a way that it only gets decrypted at the server because no one else knows the algorithm. Okay, and even if it gets in the hands of the hacker or some person, they cannot decrypt because it's in different code. Okay, So and they cannot decrypt unless he knows the algorithm or he can, he know what algorithm those people are using. Okay. Now that kind of testing is called security testing. Okay. So here let's go to back to our definition here. How the system can be penetrated in the hacking way. Okay. Testing how well the application protects against unauthorized internal or external access is called security testing. Does it make sense? So here we have taken example of HTTPS. Okay, it's just not just because it's just S. It's actually the algorithm which uses at the back end. They use this. Let's see here if we can see this. Here you see the secure connection. So whenever you're using this, your password, credit card numbers is safe. You're safe on this. But I was trying to see here. Okay, we don't, not able to see that certificate. There is a certificate, maybe this guys also had hidden that because now it's no more required. There is a certificate installed in the system which encrypts your all the information, whatever you're trying to do online, okay? And only decrypts at that particular server, Google server, because you're trying to do a lot of things online, right? You want to buy something, you want to, you're sending your assistant to someone, okay? So that's really, very important thing when you are trying to do online. This is the HTTPS. Always, I do HTTPS whenever I do some credit card transaction. There's no way I'm using HTTP and giving credit card information because you know what, somebody is doing it and somebody is getting that information. So these days it's really if you do that once, it's really unsecure. Okay, somebody is getting that information. Okay, so any questions so far? Okay, so let's move to the next topic there. Compatibility testing. Okay, and this testing, you want to see how the software is compatible, right? How is compatible with the OS, like different OS, like is it compatible with Windows? Is it compatible with Unix? Is it compatible with Linux? Is it compatible with Mac and so on? So that kind of testing, when you test this, that's called compatibility testing. Okay, so let's see here. Testing how well software performs in not just operating system, but also the hardware and environment, what kind of environment and different combinations. Okay, to test all this is called compatibility testing. Okay, let's go to the next one, comparison testing. Okay, what is this comparison testing? So here you are comparing the two products, with the strength and weakness of the previous versions. Okay, normally with previous version. Okay, don't get confused with sanity testing. You also have the sanity testing. Okay, that is the that is you're trying to test the versions of here. Here you are comparing. So there you're not comparing anything. Okay, this is good and that is good. Here what you're comparing here. Okay, between the two versions are the two different products. Okay, so that's called comparison testing. Okay, so let's move to the next topic. Alpha testing. So alpha testing is like in-house. So let's say your project, let's say you have developed a code. Okay, developer has completed coding for an application. There is an web application. They have completed the coding, and now they have to do testing. Okay. Normally alpha testing, okay, anyone can do it, but more, some companies they look for developer to do this. Okay, that's called alpha testing. Now, anyone who is responsible for that project can do this alpha testing. So, what is exactly this alpha testing? So, it's a virtual environment created to test it. Okay, we want to see each and every application, each and every feature and functionality of an application. You want to test it. Okay, and this is the only in-house. That means who are responsible for the projects, just like business business analyst or project manager or developer a tester, a manager, or whoever, whoever within the project, who are working in the project, can do this alpha testing. Okay. Now, business analyst does his own testing. You know what? Business testing has their own business analyst does their own testing because they have to make sure that it is as per the business, because business analysts are really they want to see that okay, this should be this, this application should be like this, because they are responsible for the application behavior and application look and feel, right? So all this in-house virtual user environment testing is called alpha testing. Okay, let's move to the next one, beta testing. Now, what happens in the beta testing is actually, what, that application is made. Okay, let's say they have done, alpha testing is done. Once alpha testing is done, if they create a little and a small piece of application that's similar based on that, and they distribute to the whole world, right? Whole world, and they tell every user to test it, because now the company doesn't trust developers and testers, right? Right. Because they might miss something, because a lot of applications, a lot of things, a lot of functionalities, nobody knows what issue it is. So that's the reason they issue to the whole world saying that, okay, why don't you test it, and why don't come up with bugs, okay? Once this is released to the consumers, that's the whole world, they people test it and report the defects. Now that's called beta testing. Okay. Now, what's the definition? Testing typically done by end users or others, normally consumers. Okay. And then once it's done, like this whole product is ready, they, it's like demo application. They give a demo application to the users and say that, hey, once you test it, we give the full version, you pay the money, and you get the full version. Okay. So that's called beta testing. Any questions so far? Okay, so we have completed all different testings. Okay, I hope you guys got the slides, right? The slide, which I sent yesterday. I hope you guys got. Okay, so let's move to the next topic. Actually, hope everyone are here in the class, right? Because this is a very important topic here. Now, let's go here. Okay, now let's say you went to the project. Any questions so far? Actually, in the slides, anyone have any questions? I mean, you can still come up with questions in the email. Okay. You know what? You can still reach me out if you have any questions on the slides. We can talk on this. Okay, no issues. Okay. Okay. So I hope everyone understood, right? So here's the thing. Let's say you went to the project, right? Now I want everyone to be proactive, at least in this year, okay? At least in this class, because this is very important, and this is what, as a QA point of view, as a software tester or as a functional tester, you are doing this, okay? You will be doing this. So I want to make sure everyone is proactive. Now, your boss always looks how you are proactive. What is proactive? That means when a question is asked, how are you able to respond to that? That's called proactive, okay? I see very less people to be not being proactive, because when a question is asked, you need to say at least yes, no, I don't know, I'm not sure, let's check into this, okay, something or else. But if you don't give response, okay, so that's that's up to you. It's up to you. So I'm not saying you have to give something, but it's good for you, because at the project, your boss always looks for proactiveness. Okay, so make sure you guys know this. Okay, so let's go into the project. Okay, now you got a project, right? Your boss, not even boss, you don't even communicate more to your boss. No, you talk to your lead. Okay, now your lead said, okay, you know what? Hey, why don't you do this? Your lead told you, why don't you test this application? Now you don't know what the application is, right? I'm showing you because you got information from somewhere. You talk to the colleague, you talk to the developer, so you got this URL and this application. That's good, but nobody will give you the straight answer for you. You need to work around a lot of this. Okay, let's say you found the documents on the SharePoint and you want to check it out with the lead. Hey, you know what? Why don't you work on this GMO online project? Then okay, great, Now, the next thing is you don't want to ask a question, what I need to test in this. Now, that's not an appropriate question. Okay, does everyone get that? You're not going to ask your lead saying that what I need to test in this. That's not good because you are an experienced guy and they're not expecting such kind of questions from you because now the moment you ask this question, okay, so this guy don't know anything, right? As a tester, as a QA or ETL tester, whatever you are, and you're doing this, you know what to do, right? You are specialized, you're expert. Now, you're not going to ask such kind of question like what I need to test in this. Okay, that's not a really good question. Because they'll find out that you are not a genuine guy. Okay, so what you need to ask is, okay, are we doing all types of testing here? Okay, are we doing all regression testing, performance testing? Is there any teams who are doing this regression and UAT? You need to ask them, those kind of testing. I'm sorry, those kind of questions. Okay, you cannot ask what you're because as a QA you know what to do, right? And as a QA you need to test each and everything. Nothing, there's nothing like what you need to test. It's like everything you need to test. Okay, because you're a QA guy, functional. You need to do each and every functionality. Okay, now you're good. You're good. Now you got this application. You need to start testing here. Okay, let's start testing here. Okay, now you need to test everything. This image. Okay, we don't know what exactly the image should be. It is in right side. It should be left side. We don't know because right now we don't have document on this. So don't worry about it. We will be using our more common sense here. Okay, to test this application, not document. Okay. Okay, let's see. Now I want to click on this button. Let's see how this button performs and I click it. Okay, great. That means this is retail company. That's great. This is a retail company where we are actually buying stuff and online. It's like Amazon, Walmart stuff. Okay, so it's retail. Now we want to. Okay, so we get this. Now let's see. I want to buy something here. Okay, I put this order quantity 10. And click place an order. Okay, and I'm going to proceed this, and I put all the information here. And if you can tell this, oops, not this. Okay, now I get this number here, so I'll just put this to make sure it's not a valid number because you're testing it, right? Remember, you're testing it here. You don't put the real number. Okay. Click on this button. This is same as bill to. If there's a billing address is different with shipping address, then you put different address. Because if you're if you're shipping this to your friend, then or you have this you're traveling somewhere, but you want this product here, but your billing address is something else. So that's the reason you have this billing address is this and shipping address is this. And if you want to check both same, you can put just same here and place an order. And here, okay, great. I just placed an order, right? Okay, now this is going to ship here and this is going to bill my address. Okay, and okay, great. Now let's return to home page. Okay, so we have completed, so we have done just one way of, formal way of doing that. So did you guys found any defects here? Did anyone see any issues? If you find issues when I'm doing, I did pretty fast, okay, before you understood anything. But technically, I didn't find any issues, and I don't think, right, that's right. Nobody found issues, that's good. You guys are good, okay. You didn't find, because I never shown, I went pretty fast, before you understood even I went through all this bit. So we didn't do anything here, right? We just went one flow, pass to flow, okay? Just one thing doesn't mean that we have tested this application. No, we have done nothing. Okay, we have just went one flow and that's it. Now let's go. Now I'm in a feature to now. I know this has bugs. Okay, I want whenever you test an application, right, you should have an opinion. You have to have opinion that this application has issues. That's how you survive in the job, because you need to show that this application has bugs, right? This has bugs. Now I'll be showing, okay, this has bugs. Now let's say I want to order in this large quantity. Let's say some, some million quantity, right? Okay, great. Okay, now I want to order these many quantities and each price, and it calculates by itself. That's great. Place in order. Okay, great. Now, you know what? I'm trying to order these many quantities, and this has this. Okay, it has calculated by itself. Now, does anyone sees any issue here? Now, there's the issue here. Now, I want you guys to come up with that issue. There is an issue here. Please let me know what's the issue. Actually, there are many issues. We just be a little bit lenient here, because first time application, you guys are using this first time. So I want you guys to find at least one issue. Quantity is too large. No, don't worry about this quantity, because we are testing here. And let's say if it's a corporate guy, right? Corporate guy, this quantity is nothing. The corporate guys buy in millions, right? I mean, this is nothing. So don't worry about the quantity. No back button. Okay, no back button. You mean this back button? There is a back button here. Yeah, there is no back button in this application, because they thought like you guys are intelligent, so you guys will be using this back button instead of back button in the application. So they removed that back button. So that's what happens in my project, right? What they did is they removed the back button completely. They said, why don't you use browser back button? Why is it for? If you want a separate back button, why two back buttons? Use only one, right? Okay, makes sense. So there's no back button. Okay, shipping charge. Exactly. So that's what I was looking for. Okay. Anyone else? Shipping charge? Grand total is not calculating. Okay. I'm not sure on that. Because yeah, you need to calculate that manually and check it. See that or use a calculator. Okay. Shipping charge. That's a very good catch. Okay. Somebody said shipping catch. Shipping and handling fee. That's a very good catch. Okay. So that was I was looking. Now, why $5 now? You know what? These many quantities. Let's say they ship it from FedEx. Okay, let's forget about FedEx. Let's say they ship at USPS. Do you really think USPS charges $5 for these many quantities? Can anyone answer this question? These are these many quantities, and you see how this looks like. Let's show you the screenshot. Okay, this is this sizes. Look at the sizes. Okay, and you're ordering these many quantities, and really, you really think that USPS charges $5 for just just $5 for these many quantities? Really? Anyone else? Really, they think that this is true? No, right? No, who is saying yes and yes and no? Anyone? I mean, if you have some say explanation on this, I'd like to have. Yeah, that's right. If someone has an explanation, yes. I mean, if the answer is yes, I need some really explanation on that. Why it is yes? Because when I buy online, I don't think USPS is so lenient. Like when you're placing it. Now they are doing business. They are not doing social service, right? You have to understand that. Now they are doing business. Now they don't charge just $5 for these many quantities. So that doesn't even make sense. Now that's a bug, right? Now I would consider this as a bug, right? I'm a tester. I'm not a developer. I'm not a business analyst. I'm not a project manager. I'm not a business guy or whatever. I'm a QA guy, QA tester. Now I consider this as a bug. Why? Now, when I'm trying to order large quantities, it's not supposed to show $5. Why? Because USPS really doesn't charge it that much. The quantity is increased, the weight increases. So the weight increases, the charge for that is also increased. Okay, so that's a bug here. Okay. Now, anyone, anyone guys, any more bug you find here in this page? I mean, delivery status can be in progress. Okay. Delivery status in process. Yeah, that should then be in here, the next page, but that's fine. So here you're saying to be shipped. Okay, so since we have not shipped, so it doesn't say that it's shipped. Okay. Any more? Yeah, somebody said that, right? One more thing I want to. Here's the thing. See, maybe I'm not more clear on this. You guys did understand properly. Here's the thing. There is a difference between the bug and the feature. Just want to make clear to everyone. No comma? No. Again, that's okay. Somebody said there's no comma here. Okay. Understand that? Right? Yeah, I got it. Okay. So here is the thing. So somebody said there is no comma here. Okay. Now I want to tell you very clearly here, there is a difference between the bug and the feature. There's a hairline difference between the bug and feature. Okay. Now, what is a bug? A bug is something which is a defect, right? Which is not there in the requirements. Let's say you have this requirement document, and now here we don't have requirements here. We are using common sense. I understand that. So that's really a little hard to understand to start with. But here, this is a bug because I'm using my common sense saying that, hey, you know what, it's $5 and I'm trying to order this many, and this really doesn't make sense to me. Ordering this many quantity, just $5 doesn't make sense. That's a different story. That company will give you for free. They said you're buying so many stuff, it's a free. That's altogether different thing. But now, this is a bug because I don't want to show the $5 because just this large quantity. Now, feature is something which is not there. Okay, it is not there in the requirements. Okay, it's not showing up in requirement, but it's someone told right comma. That's a very good thing. So that's a feature. That's not a bug. Why? Because that's a really different way to think, because you know what, it's a good idea to put a comma because it's convenient for us to see this number. So that's the reason I take that as a feature, not a bug. Okay, now again I told you bug is actually which doesn't there in the requirement and is showing up here is called actually the bug, right? Now again we don't have requirements, so we just now one more thing that somebody told that there's no back button here. Okay, back button, again that's a feature request. Okay, that's a feature because let's say in the requirement there is no back button, right? You want to request business analyst saying that, hey, you know what, why don't you add this back button? The business analyst will get very angry on this. Okay, and they will get very angry. Why don't you use your browser back button? Why is this for? That's really good, right? No, that's why you don't. You see here they told you, right? Users back button now is very clearly written here. Now there is no reason to ask any more question to business. There is no back button here. Okay. Now this is use browser's back button to change your selection. So those are features. What you are trying to say is the features. What I'm trying to show up here is bugs. The bug is different. There's a hairline difference between the bug and the feature. Feature is something which you want. Which you think it is a better because based on your experience, you want to add in some new things which is not there here. But bug is something which is not there in the requirement and it shows up wrong information here. Okay, here I'm using just quantity can be addressed as quantity is same. Yeah, I mean there is a short form quantity. Okay. That's a good note. I mean, this again, this is the feature request. You want to request a feature. That's good. You know. So okay. So we found one bug. Let's go back and find more bugs. Okay. Um, there are plenty of bugs to find out. Okay. Now before going this, let me give you. Whenever you start testing, you need to come up with scenarios. Okay. Before going to because you don't know. Let's say this is an application you don't know how to start with. You need to come up with scenarios. What are the scenarios? Positive scenarios, negative scenarios, and boundary values. What is a positive scenario? Let's take an example here. This is the order quantity. Quantity is always measured in numbers, right? 1, 2, 3. Now, that's called positive scenario. Quantity cannot be an alphabet. Let's say I want to put an alphabet here. Now, that doesn't work. You see this? Please enter this. Okay, now this doesn't work. It's a different story. Let's go back. So that's called negative scenario. Okay. So other than numbers, you're putting this. Okay, so you're putting alphabets. You're putting special characters or or anything else. That's called. Okay, so that's called negative scenarios. And there's something called boundary values. Boundary values is like something you want to put other than numbers like 0.001. Now that's not a valid quantity, right? Quantity, you want to order one quantity, two quantity, and three quantity. But there's nothing called like 0.0010. That's called boundary values. Okay. So here's the thing: three types of scenarios you want to always do this on any application. Okay. So let's you guys understood one defect, right? We talked about this one defect. Let's talk about another defect. So I'll be giving you, three examples here. Again, you need to understand the hairline difference between this bug and the feature. Bug is something which is not really there in the requirement, and you found it here. That's a bug. And a feature is something you want to add additional based on your experience. As somebody said, like comma, that's good. Comma, you can add it. Yeah, that's a very good reason to add that comma, right? And back button, okay, you don't need back button since DA told you that use this. So why don't you use this? Why you want back button for that? Right, makes sense. Okay, and anything else? Somebody said like quantities. There's QTY. Why don't you put everything is in full name? Why don't you put as quantity? Again, that's a very good reason you can add. So that's all our features, not a bug. Does it make sense? Okay, now let me show you one more bug. Okay, now I want to order 100 quantity. Okay, before that, let's see. Let's score some information on this 3% dome. I want to click this URL, 3% dome. Okay, good. Now this unit price $299.99. In stock 23. What? 23. Okay, so that means you cannot accept more than 23 numbers. That means it has to be 23 or below that number. You cannot go beyond that. Now let's see here. I'm trying to order 100 here, and it's going through. This is really not a good thing, because now when you're ordering 100, the customer will get only 23. Why? Because in stock is only 23. How can you get more than that? Now it's a backlog item, and they have to worry about how to get that item and all those things. And customer will build for all this for 100 quantity, and he's really in trouble because he doesn't get all this and thought like get all the quantity and call the customer care, and it's not good, and they're not responding it, and they said like we should there's no it's a backlog item, but he said like I paid this, else then we'll go beyond that. If the customer service is not good, goes to lawsuits. It's not good, but this is how the problem starts, right? So that's another bug. Does it make sense to everyone? Okay. So you are having in stock 23, but if there is no more than 23, you cannot proceed with this. There has to be some pop-up button, right? Like just pop-up button like this, please order something first, or please enter quantity less than 100 or less than 23. Okay, there is nothing like that, and the page is going through, and you're going to order, and customer is paying all the money for 100 quantity and getting 23 is not really a good idea, right? So that's a bug. Okay, so that's one thing. Two, no, I explain you. So I'm giving you homework on this, okay? So I hope everyone is understood like how to test an application. Again, you need to really understand the hairline difference between the feature and the bug. Okay, so what I'm trying to explain here is all the bugs, not the feature. Okay, the feature is something which is what you want to add additional based on your experience, right? You already have some experience, you already did online shopping, you already tested some application, that's fine. So based on that, you want to add some new feature, like somebody said comma, somebody said okay item quantity, okay, somebody said okay this color should be blue color, it should be black, okay, that's fine. That's all of things are good. That is something to talk about it, talk to a lead, talk to the business analyst. But here, what I'm trying to explain here is bug, real-time scenario where you see this. Just like this is an example, like wrong credit card information and all those things are, bugs. Okay, now let's go to the next third defect. Okay, so whenever you're doing homework, make sure it's not in my classes. Okay, so there are a lot more defects than you can, what I have told you. Without requirements, based on this application, you just spend 1 or 2 hours. That's it. You find plenty of defects. But I need at least one from everyone and unique. It should don't copy each other. You need to find out yourself, and it should not be from my classes. Okay. Okay. Now I don't want like okay this is no I told you like in stock 8 now you are putting this 100. Now I already told this. Okay, so that implies to all these. Okay, all these options. So don't come up with just because I told 3% don't 10 I didn't for padded socks. No, you don't want to come up with that. So that's defect for every topic here. Okay, every quantity here shown. Okay, so let's move to the next one more defect. So I want to tell you one more defect. Let's say I'm trying to order some, I'm using some random number. I'm just not using this numbers. I'm using some special characters like tilde, some tilde. I don't know. And I just want to place an order. It's not supposed to go through it, but somehow it went through it. No, that's not good. How it's supposed to go, it's not supposed to happen. So quantity, what quantity? Tilde and unit price 29, total price 5, and your customer is billing for $5 for what? This is not going to ship anything because it's you're not getting anything this quantity, and you are actually placing this. How interesting! You're trying to place this order with no quantity, some this is a bug. Does it make sense? This is not a feature really. I mean, this is not supposed to happen technically, right? I mean, it's not, the page is not supposed to go when you're using this, it has to give some error, right? Just like error, just like it showed previously, right? Say, yeah, it's supposed to give this error saying please enter only digits in this field. But instead of saying that, it's going to the next URL, okay, and it's showing like tilde. Right? Instead of showing that error, it's going to the page. It doesn't make sense. Now that is the third defect. Okay, so I have explained you 3 defects. You need to come up with. There are plenty of defects. Just you need to look at this application. Not just this. I went just only one button. There's 3 more buttons to look at it. About the site, Gmo site button. Okay, you have to verify this too and browse the test page. Okay, so go through all these 3 and I would say take some time, understand this application. 1 hour, 2 hours, that should be good. If you want less, that's fine. Just you need to figure it out one bug for your homework. Okay, so I'm giving you homework today. Okay, so I'll send you an email to everyone. Okay, so hope you guys do the homework. Okay, any questions so far? So again, just want to make sure there's a hairline difference between the feature and the bud. Okay, so what you guys actually told me was actually feature. How would I know? Because okay, I have experience because I know what it is, but feature is something additional. You're requesting something additional which is not there here, right? That is feature. You're requesting additional thing. Bug is something which really not matches with the requirement, right? Okay, we don't have document here, that's fine, I completely understand, but I'm here using more of a common sense, right? It's a common sense, right? For example, it's a star 23 and I'm putting 100, so that's a common sense, right? It's not supposed to accept. So, that's a bug. So somebody asked, bugs could be from browse page 2. Yeah, I mean, bugs can be, anything. It might be an application issue, it might be browser issue, maybe Chrome might be having their own bugs. Now, Chrome used to have a lot of bugs, okay, not to mention that, but we are not worried about this Chrome bugs, okay, they might have some bugs. If you find out, that's great, but you know what, we don't have to work on Chrome issue, we are working on this application issue, so work on the application. Okay, so you can do this, not just in Chrome browser, you can do it in Internet Explorer, Firefox, Opera, Safari. If you have Safari, that's great. Do it in the Mac, or if you have this mobile applications, do it in the mobile application and find out the bugs. Okay, it can be, the page might be not aligning, that application might not be moving forward, or some or other issue. Okay. So you can, okay. So this is the different browser here. You can use a different browser. Try the same thing here. How does it work? Okay. The way of showing error is different here, but still we can work. Any questions so far? So this is what you'll be doing in a functional list or as QA list, a software tester. Okay. Oops, I have a meeting. If no one has any questions, can we close this class for today? Okay, thank you guys.